Minutes from now, the Parliament is going to debate the constitutional changes that are required to facilitate the goods and services tax. One sector that could be adversely impacted is e-commerce. Here's why. GST will be imposed on the transaction value according to the model law. This means that the tax will be deducted at source for all e-commerce suppliers. Well, joining us now to discuss this further is Vijay, Shekhar, Sharma of Paytm and Arun Anandgiri of TaxSutra.com. Gentlemen, good to have you on the show. And before I actually start off this conversation, here's a view from one tax expert explaining how e-commerce companies could face cash flow issues because of GST.
Is certainly going to disturb the rhythm of e-commerce. Value-added tax like GST, the tax moves from the supplier to the receiver, and then the chain goes on. But when it comes to e-commerce, the chain gets reversed. The receiver, when he makes a payment to the supplier, he withholds a tax. That means the chain of tax, which was earlier perceived to be a value-added tax, is suddenly becoming a tax deduction at source. And obviously, it is going to cause cash flow concerns for e-commerce suppliers.
Okay, let's just broaden up this conversation then. Vijay, good to have you on the show. Thanks for joining in. I'll start with a very basic question. Industry experts seem to be really wary of the fact that now the tax is going to be collected at source. So the onus of collecting this tax, deducting it, and then paying it out to the taxman, that lies with e-commerce companies. Is it really going to be that huge an administrative challenge?
Truly speaking, I do not think that it will be such a challenge, because these are technology platforms and we anyways are calculating various other tax and benefits calculations at every SKU or an item ordered basis, every one of us. So typically today, when you are placing an order of an item, it is very clearly articulated who is a cost of shipment, cost of promotions, cost of marketing, and many other, and then the various services that are handed over and the service tax. So calculation is not at all an issue, I personally believe. And I'm a counter opinion here that instead of being in an ambiguous tax regime, having a clarity is always better. And even if it might be a little bit of early hump where suppliers of e-commerce companies like ours will have a TDS, but I think the payment cycles, which are very fast, can sort it out easily.
Yeah. Vijay, a couple of quick questions, Arun here. Number one, the definition of money in the GST model law, that includes e-remittance. So does that cover e-wallets like Paytm? That's first. And two, would you want the e-wallets to be included as one of the payment gateways, payment channels for GST payment? The GSTN network has in fact invited applications from private players to be their payment partners. So Vijay, any thoughts on this?
Yes. Yes, I think remittances are part of wallets business. Traditionally, all the telecom operators and many other wallet players are running remittance business. So it does become part of their play. And though it is not yet for Paytm, because we do not have remittance business yet. And secondly, as you said about GSTN, we've had our meetings with GSTN, and we would be very interested and willing to contribute our bit on payment collections of GST and taxes, and there are business solutions. And because traditionally banks are not the model, they're not sort of a tech API level of companies. So payment wallet companies are more or less technology company primarily, so they can offer a little more integrated tax collection methods for GSTN. Yes, we are working with GSTN.
Vijay, if we are looking at an April 2017 timeline to kickstart GST, how geared up is Paytm? What is the opportunity that you envisage, the revenue opportunity, the business opportunity you envisage via the GST, and how geared up is Paytm for the April 2017 timeline?
Yeah, so like we just now discussed a while back, that there are calculations which are now origination versus a termination based of a good delivery. So in a commerce bit, the marketplace bit, we have to work, and I do think that it will take at least 3 to 4 months, and then various compliance checks. So at least 3 to 6 months inclusive of all kind of compliance and confirmation verifications. As far as the marketplace side of the business is concerned, and the places where GST directly impacts. And as far as collections of GST, the payment collections bit is concerned, then we are at a receiving side. We look forward to get integration opportunity with GSTN, and that is where it all depends on how GSTN network is ready, the technology platform of GSTN is ready. So it at least is going to take 6 months of all of the business stakes that we are talking about it. And to the second question, how big is this an opportunity? I think businesses are better run when there is a clarity of what tax calculation is going to be and how it is going to be liability of whom. Today in e-commerce business, it is a tremendous mess. As we have always been saying that there are states which have an entry tax and there are states which have an origination tax, and then people have created different, so merchants have to create multi-city warehouses, and a lot of other e-commerce companies install different warehouses in different states so that they can serve those places. So there are many inefficiencies just because of this tax not being clear. And today GST will actually, I believe, will save that level of inefficiency. So at least 15 to 20% can obviously in a longer term be looked at, though on a small base today. So I won't attribute the dollar value to it or rupee value, but I can say that 10 to 15% of inventory and efficiency of tax calculation and attribution, and it also opens up cities and markets. Like today, you know that in Noida, you can't buy a phone which is more than 5,000 and get it delivered because there is an entry tax obligation. So it also opens new market there.
Vijay, finally, and I'm going to ask a very simple question. You explained that for broadly speaking, for e-commerce companies, you don't think that this is too much of a prohibitive new tax regime that's coming in. What about aggregators?
Yeah.
And what about platforms where there might not be an actual monetary transaction? Because the definitions are a little confusing at this point in time. I mean, online job websites for that matter, or matrimonial websites. I mean, will they fall under the purview of the tax or not? What happens to, let's say, cab aggregators? And then, of course, mobile wallets. If you could just break it down, the different legs and pillars of e-commerce in this country, how will each of these pillars be impacted once GST rolls in?
Yeah, so like you said that there are multi-industry segments and there are multiple use cases we are talking here. Truly speaking, we will only be able to specify exact impact once we've got this document and we've read through it. But overall, what we have learned based on the media reports today as of is that it does require us to do programming, it does require us to change operations, it does require us to calculate differently, it does require us to work with the partners, whether you are a wallet like a payment partner or whether you are a commerce aggregation platform. There is a fundamentally operational change that will go through. And like I said, it is a work of time, 3 to 6 months, not more than that, but life after that is far more better than what it is today.
Okay, all right, Vijay, thanks so much for joining in. That's an optimistic note to end this conversation on. Arun, I'll thank you as well for joining in and giving us some of the highlights, some of the issues that obviously are at play when it comes to GST and e-commerce. We're completely out of